Hello and welcome to Review-Palooza. This is Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath. We've got a stack of Kino Lorber titles to review in this episode. Actually, there are two titles here on the bottom of the stack that are Code Red titles distributed by Kino Lorber. So all of these are September 2021 titles from Kino Lorber. We've covered most of them before in new release videos. Like, look, here, these are coming out. But now I've watched them. Now is the time. They're shipping now. You know, you pre-order them or you buy them now. This is a review video. I'm excited to talk about these. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of these movies. Let's kick it off with these two because these are the two that, as I record this video, are already available. They launched earlier in September. The rest of these released throughout the month of September. Let's start with Tomb of Ligeia. Edgar Allan Poe adaptation, loosely. It's more inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, but there's enough there that there's enough tissue there that you can connect it. But this is Roger Corman doing what Roger Corman did in the 60s in American International Pictures, which is direct Vincent Price in these Poe adaptations. Tons of atmosphere, tons of like that gothic, you know, they're very distinct. I really like them. This is one of the better ones in the whole cycle. It's got the Trailers from Hell with Joe Dante here as well. And he says the same thing. He really highlights the atmosphere, the acting, the performance. There's just like a level of depth. I don't know if maturity is the right word, but it just feels it's a very good atmospheric movie. You know what else I like about these? This movie's 82 minutes long. Everything is so long now. Once upon a time, you could say what you had to say in 82 minutes. And it was like a complete story. 3 audio commentaries, one by Tim Lucas, one by Roger Corman, one by the actress Elizabeth Shepard, who is this is her right here in the corner. She's great. She has like a dual role in this movie. I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen it. This is Kino more and more is putting these nice slipcovers on their releases, and they just look good. Because if you look over my shoulder, usually Kino Lorber has the uniform. You know, the titles look like this. The white text, you get the slipcase, you got a little pizzazz there, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I like this movie. I don't know if I had to choose. I'd probably go with maybe Mask of Red Death as my favorite of the Poe, Corman, Vincent Price jams. But I don't know. It's so hard to pick because they're all very good. There's not a bad one in the bunch. So anyway, Tomb of Ligeia. Let's talk about Theater of Blood. This is, from what I've heard, the accounts that I've heard, this is Vincent Price's favorite movie that he did. And I can understand why, because this comes from, it's 1973. He was coming off of a run. Let me see if I can remember everything. So he parted with AIP. He had departed American International Pictures, the whole Corman thing. He didn't feel like he was being treated as well as he could have been. So he works for other people, and out of this period, there's like a 5-year run. It's like Abominable Dr. Phibes, Dr. Phibes Rises Again. There's this movie, Madhouse, which is very fun. I like it. Peter Cushing's in that as well, right? And then he kind of ends this era with the Alice Cooper Welcome to the Nightmare. It was like a special, like a primetime special. He's also he was in the concert and the tie-in to Welcome to My Nightmare. And that's kind of like this period. It's like peak Baroque Vincent Price. You know, Vincent Price started in the 30s and the 40s. Great noir films, crime films. The first sequel to The Invisible Man. I think it's the first one that he's in. The first sequel that he's in. Very good, fairly straight performances, and then 50s come and it gets a little bigger, and then the 60s come and it gets even bigger, and then by the time of the 70s, when I say Baroque, you know, it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like fully Nicolas Cage Twilight career, you know, like I have nothing left to lose. And in this movie, he gets to play a jilted thespian, an actor who is angry at the reviewers for all the bad reviews, and he gets to kill them one by one. And you have to imagine he just enjoyed that so much. This also stars, looking for the cast, but Diana Rigg, who a lot of us would know as Emma Peel from The Avengers, and other things, of course, but I think we lead with Emma Peel. And it's got a lot of like high society British actors in here too, as like the film critics and stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's gorier than you may be expecting if you're, because it feels fairly like upper crust, and then you know somebody gets their head cut off or something. It's a lot of fun. This has a commentary with screenwriter and producer Alan Spencer, an audio commentary by David Del Valle and Nick Redman, and then the trailers from Hell with Alan Spencer, who does I love that Kino Lorber is including the trailers from Hell on these. Next in the stack, I don't think you guys have seen this. I don't think we've talked about this in a video, but Kino Lorber is putting out, or they have, I'm holding it and I watched it, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, the Steve Martin movie directed by Carl Reiner, comedy legend Carl Reiner. This is a loving send-up of 40s Universal, like noir romance. It draws from all of Universal's 40s films, and it's a very distinct sort of a thing. So he's a private detective. Steve Martin is a private detective, and the femme fatale is Rachel Ward, who is fantastic. And they're trying to see, do we have alternate artwork? No, but I can show you, like, there she is in the corner, the top left corner. She's gorgeous. She plays the part very well. All those bullet sucking scenes, those of you who know this movie know what I'm talking about. The fun thing about this movie is that it draws so heavily on these Universal movies, and they will incorporate footage from the Universal catalog. Like, that was the point, is it's like 3 Humphrey Bogart movies that get worked into this movie, and like they just cut them back and forth so it looks like Steve Martin is acting opposite Humphrey Bogart. Or Vincent Price. There's a Vincent Price scene in this as well. Hey, three in a row with Vincent Price. It's so fun. And so I go way back with this movie. I go back to VHS, maybe, I think it was the late 80s, but it might have been the early 90s. I think it was the late 80s. And this was like it's a gateway. If you're not, here's what I'll say: if you like Steve Martin, you like comedies, but you aren't really familiar with Universal's history, the Universal monsters maybe, but if you haven't seen the noir films and the all those great thrillers from the 40s, this is a great gateway because it opens the door for those, and you get to it's a low cost, right? Like, you're enjoying yourself, but then you're like, oh, I'm kind of curious about that. And of course, at the end, over the credits, they have the full, they show, they're like, this was from this movie, this was from this movie, because it's kind of an advertisement for Universal's catalog, right? And now that we have so many of these movies on Blu-ray, you know, at the time, this would have been in the theater, maybe they were on VHS. Now that we have so many of these movies on Blu-ray, it's kind of like, just go get them, go seek them out. So, very funny movie, not to be taken too seriously, as, I mean, the title is Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, but in the great filmmaking noir tradition with Steve Martin. It's got, by the way, I didn't talk about the extras. It's got the commentary by Alan Arkush, he was the co-director of Hollywood Boulevard with Joe Dante, right? So Joe Dante, and we just talked about Dante, and film historian and filmmaker Daniel Kremer. Radio spots, TV spots, and the theatrical trailer. So it's got this. They used to make trailers, they would shoot trailers just for movies, and it wasn't just scenes from the movie, so that, like, this one is like Steve Martin with the buttometer. He's like, he's like, hello audience, we've secretly installed sensors in your seats. If you're excited, I have 2 movies I've filmed, and we're going to release them based on your reaction. So when I say the title of the movie, if you just tense your butt, we'll read the meter and it will know which one you're most excited about. So he's like, and it's like cow pies in the farm or something like that. And it's like, little meter goes in. And he's like, our dead men don't wear plaid, which is a rousing blah, blah, blah. And it's like, meter goes way over. They used to do that all the time for movies, but they don't really do it anymore. Like trailers shot just for, teasing these movies. It's a lot of fun. Skullduggery. This is the one I know. When we unboxed this, when we talked about this in the video that kind of announced it earlier it was in August, because I got these like a month early. Skullduggery is the one I think you guys are most interested in. And it's a weird movie, man. Burt Reynolds, Susan Clark. Susan Clark was the mom on TV's Webster. Remember Webster? You'd be like, George, was it Papadopoulos? George Papadopoulos. His wife, I can't remember her name in the show. Somebody's gonna say it, but she would go on to be the mom in Webster. But she was like sexy and like it's so weird because you see these people outside of the context that you might know them from. I'm tempted to just do a whole thing about that, just like start talking about that. But no, we need to stay focused. We got a lot of ground to cover. She's really good in the movie. Burt Reynolds, it's like an anomaly in his career. I don't know if he's left us now, but I don't know if he was embarrassed about it or it's a really interesting movie about like what is human. Burt Reynolds, this expedition finds like the missing link in this exotic rainforest kind of a thing. I mean, you see, like they find these missing link people and they're like, are they human? Or are they animal? And then it kind of becomes this whole meditation on what is human. It's adapted from a novel. The novel was I haven't read it. This has a great commentary with friend of CerealAtMidnite, C. Courtney Joyner, Howard S. Berger, and there's another cat on here, but he's not listed on the back of the package. They talk about how it was kind of a satire, but the movie doesn't necessarily play it as satire. It plays it fairly straight, but it's not so straight because it undercuts. It's just dry. You have to be really watching for it. It's a very interesting movie. I don't know that it works, just to be honest with you. Like these movies, so many of the movies that we talk about, we have The Godfather and Citizen Kane and Shawshank Redemption. We have the movies that people are like, well, those are really good. And then you've got the bad movies, right? And then, the ones that I was going to say the ones that Mystery Science Theater 3000 makes fun of, but they make fun of a lot of movies that aren't bad, that are actually very good. This Island Earth. But there's a lot of movies that are just kind of in the middle, and they bear the fingerprints of their creators, and creators are flawed. You can't make something that's not flawed. It's just the nature of humanity. So they don't get talked about as much. They kind of fall off the radar. This is a very interesting, very flawed movie. I don't know that it works, but it's an interesting, I haven't seen Burt Reynolds do this in another movie. And who else is in here? There's somebody else I wanted to talk to you guys about. I can't remember the actor's name. Is it Roger C. Carmel? Anyway, the actor that played Harry Mudd on Star Trek. This is 1970s. This is just a few years. Well, Star Trek ended in 1969. So right after Star Trek, the actor that played, is it Harry Mudd? It's Harry Mudd, right? I was going to say Harvey, but it's Harry Mudd. He's the sidekick in this movie. It's fun. I don't know that you're going to watch it every 6 months, but I'm grateful that we have access. That's why the collection exists in the first place. That's why I buy movies, why I own movies, because I want access. Because I want to study, I love Burt Reynolds. I want to study the career of Burt Reynolds. And so here's another piece of the Burt Reynolds puzzle. Thankfully, we're able to check it out for ourselves and see what we think. Lucky Luciano. I don't think we talked about this in a video either. This is a 1973... It's a crime. I mean, it's Lucky Luciano, one of those famous 20s gangsters, but this is like the story you don't know or that hasn't really been told. So I'm trying to get the details right. It's basically like the after primetime Lucky Luciano. It's like when he was older through his death. He gets exiled to Italy and then comes back to America. So here's the facts for this. So it's directed by Francesco Rossi, and it stars, I want to make sure I'm looking at this and I get this right. Gian Maria Volonté, who was the actor that played in A Fistful of Dollars, the bad guy. He's in for a few dollars more too, I think. He's the bad guy, very iconic spaghetti western performance. But he is Lucky Luciano in this movie. This is him. If you don't know, it's kind of hard to recognize. But Rod Steiger is in this movie, kind of briefly. Edmund O'Brien, speaking of like 40s and 50s and noir and stuff. Vincent Gardenia. I don't love this movie, but I respect this movie. It's very dry. It came out in 73, right? So it's you kind of gather that it's the Italians. I think it's a French co-production too. French-Italian co-production. You kind of gather that they're chasing The Godfather. They're like, oh, let's make another crime movie about a big crime boss that's very like, you know, in the inner workings. It's less like bang bang and more, you know. So it's kind of dry. It's very slow, and I didn't love it, but that's just my take. If you like gangster movies, if you do appreciate, you know, international cinema, it's certainly worth a look, and it's well acted. It's a good movie. It's more realistic and more grounded than what I was expecting. So I'll have to watch it again at some point for the movie that it is, and not the movie that I wanted it to be. Macho Callahan. This movie is brutal. It is brutal. I'm trying to think how I even want to start this. I'll start with the cast. So David Janssen, who was TV's The Fugitive, right? And then Jean Seberg, who is the lead actress here. I'm trying to remember what she was in that I could tell you guys. David Carradine. Has anyone heard of David Carradine? No, great actor David Carradine. He's in a lot of good things. Lee J. Cobb is in this. James Booth. And it's directed by, I'm looking for it again, Bernard L. Kowalski. And Kino has done like a 3-pack. It's not a 3-pack. They've released like 3 Bernard Kowalski movies in the last little bit of time. Stiletto, I think, is the other one of the other 2. And then Krakatoa East of Java, I think, is the 3rd one. And I think I don't have those here. I have Stiletto. I don't have Krakatoa East of Java, but I think they're like kind of a back-to-back punch. And then he was kind of onto other things. Did a lot of TV, Kowalski. A lot of TV. You name a famous TV show, he probably directed a lot of episodes from it. It's like Columbo and like Banachek. I mean, it's like everything. But this movie is freaking brutal. It's so difficult and hard to watch. It has real animal violence in it. Just want everybody to be prepared. They shot it in Mexico, and you just gather that there were no organizations or unions. The movie kind of opens with a horse being disemboweled. I mean, it's dead already, but they're disemboweling a horse. And they get Macho Callahan out of solitary. He's been in a box for 30 days in this prison camp sort of a thing. It's just really grim. But this is 1970. We're getting up under that, like, again, the Wild Bunch had come out, so you have to imagine that was a factor. Wild Bunch is, 69? So you have to imagine that that was a big influence, probably. I don't know. But it's just very... There's no myth of the West in this movie. It's people, hard times, bad things happening. I've probably said enough. Violence, brutal, realistic violence. It's not a romantic Western. It's a brutal, we live in poop. We roll around in our own poop. It's that kind of a thing. But that's going to appeal to a lot of people. This has been kind of hard to find. It's been kind of hard to see. So I am grateful that we have it. And it's, it looks good, HD. These are the kinds of things that I do while the movie is challenged. Clearly, it's kind of tough to watch. But I'm grateful for it. Because when you are watching, you're like, this is amazing. 1970, you feel that new Hollywood coming. The Hollywood that was being born. And it didn't last for long because the blockbuster killed it with Jaws, Star Wars. They made sure that was over. But You can feel the freshness and the excitement that, like, this is not like anything else that was coming out. This is visceral and it's gritty. Nudity, violence, real and imagined. But it's powerful. I'll tell you that. It's powerful. What else is powerful? Mel Gibson's hair in Bird on a Wire. How about that transition? I'm going to give it to myself for that one. This is, like, this movie was on cable all the time in the 80s and the early 90s. There's an entire generation of us who are like, oh, Bird on a Wire. I don't know if it's good, but it's fun. It's a little long. Go back to everything being a little too long. 110 minutes. This should be 90. Let's cut 20 out of that, guys. But it's Mel Gibson at his peak. I think he had done 2 Lethal Weapon movies by this point. 87 and 89? Is that right? It was Lethal Weapon 2, 1990. Anyway, this, like, peak Mel Gibson. Goldie Hawn, who by this point had been around for, like, 20-something years. Because she started, Laugh-In was, what, 67? 68? It's a fun movie, and it's got a lot of, I don't know, it's an effortless watch. And for those who are my age, who grew up in the era of effortless cable action movies, like, it's kind of comforting. It has, Bill Duke and David, I was going to say, David Carradine's in this too? Yeah, it's 2 David Carradines. Bill Duke, who I like to say, I think the most iconic Bill Duke role for me is in Predator, when he's, like, shaving his head, he's dry shaving his head in the jungle. But you could go with a lot of Bill Duke movies. He's in this one. And I don't know. What we got? It's a new 2K scan. Looks really good. Audio commentary with the director, the producer / second unit director, Rob Cohen. I believe this is the same Rob Cohen that would go on to create the Fast and the Furious franchise. And Triple X, didn't he also do Triple X? The things I'm gonna do for my country. It's my Triple X impression. Vin Diesel. And film historian, filmmaker Daniel Kramer. There he is again. So there's the back of the package. I know, it's like, there's certain movies, like, I don't think Bird on a Wire is necessarily good, but it's fun, and it's like Mel Gibson has this mullet that he's pulled into a ponytail for most of the movie. And I'm like, interesting choice. A mullet and a ponytail. It's not like it's all long. This is very specific. The top was very short, What a time. What a time to be alive. All right. Arabesque. Now, I like this movie a lot. It has been said that Arabesque is... who's the director again? Hold on, I'm looking for it. Stanley Donen. He was recapturing... he had already done a movie that was kind of globe-trekky, kind of a thriller suspense movie. This is like his international version, because he's got Sophia Loren in it and Gregory Peck. I like it. I think they give Sophia Loren... We were talking about this. So for Patreon supporters, here I go talking about Patreon again. But you know what? This is important. I need to talk more about it, because we have a secret Facebook group for Patreon supporters. And it's like as active all day, every day. Like, that's all we do is just talk about stuff. And we were talking in the Facebook group about how the characters don't get entrances in movies anymore. Like, Sophia Loren walks into this room. There's like this piece of furniture. It's like this gold thing with a hole in it, like a halo sort of a thing. She walks in the door, lines herself up perfectly in the halo, and then she's just like, she's literally glowing. And she's like, hello. And then Gregory Peck is eating candy, and he's like, hello. Well, how are you? It's such a great entrance. And you'd get entrances where characters would be like facing away from the camera, and they'd be like, blah, blah, blah. And then they'd be like, and they turn to the camera. We don't do that anymore. Every now and then you see it, but the character introduction is a lost art. And I say good cinematography in general is a lost art. We've really gotten away from, I guess, once computers entered the picture, cinematography was doomed. Because you can just, we'll fix it in post. But once upon a time, like in Arabesque, that camera is magic. Ultra mod, ultra mad, ultra mystery. I like it. Henry Mancini's score, again, it's leftovers from what they had already done earlier, but they're good leftovers. They're just as good the second time around. And I'll take Sophia Loren, like, give me more Sophia Loren on Blu-ray. Audio commentary by film historians Howard S. Berger, Steve Mitchell, and Nathaniel Thompson. Featurette on the music of Henry Mancini, which was, it's like from, what is it, 69? 66. It's from 1966. And like, we're here with Henry Mancini. He's going to display how this scene plays without music and then with music. And then like, he's like, here's how I wanted to score it. And I put in this, blah, blah. That sort of a thing. I like that. Again, it's like kind of like the teaser for Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. Like, they shot it just to promote this movie. Anyway, it's cool. Trailers, TV spots, all that stuff. So boom, alternate artwork. I like this movie. I really do. I have the soundtrack on vinyl, so it is what it is. Let's talk about Golden Needles. Now look. Joe Don Baker. Let me get my facts straight here. This is 73? 74. Joe Don Baker, 1 year after Walking Tall, the movie that put him on the map. Jim Kelly, 1 year after Enter the Dragon. This should be, and the plot of this movie is that they're chasing this artifact that has curative powers and can make people, basically they're chasing a supernatural MacGuffin. And it's the directed by Robert Klaus, who directed Enter the Dragon. This should be a kung fu fist fighting rock'em sock'em jam. It's not. It's got way more talking than you would expect, and Jim Kelly only has one fight scene. But it's got a lot of 70s swagger. You know what? You just have to come to terms with like the movie that this could have been is not the movie that it is, and that's kind of unfortunate. But it is fun, and I like. It doesn't live up to the cover. Let's be honest. It just doesn't. It does not live up to the cover. Here's the alternate. I guess that's the poster art. This is the original art. It doesn't live up to the cover, but it is fun. And who's the gal in this? I'm trying to find the actress. Ann Southern. No, Elizabeth Ashley. That's who I wanted to talk about. I like watching Elizabeth Ashley. There's something about that. I don't know. I gotta be careful here. I enjoy watching her. So it's a movie with two action stars that doesn't have a whole lot of action in it. So she goes to Joe Don Baker and she's like, we need this thing. We need this artifact. And he's like, I'll do it. What do you want? Or what are you going to give me for it? And she's like, well, what do you want? He's like, yeah. She's like, okay. And he's like, yeah. But it never really lives up to what you kind of want to happen. So you got Joe Don Baker like behind enemy lines chasing this thing, and I don't know. It's just like I wish it had. Given everyone involved, it should have been something a little bit like, kicked up to the next notch. But it's not. But it's worth watching. I do recommend always watch a movie. Don't not watch it. Always watch it, but properly set expectations are important. Commentary with Howard S. Berger. He's all over these. Chris Poggiali. Newly commissioned art. We see that. Radio spots, image gallery, theatrical trailer. Did I show you the back of the package? That's the last of our Kino Lorber discs. So we've got 2 code red titles. Pufnstuf. Let's start with Pufnstuf. This is the film version of Sid and Marty Krofft's H.R. Pufnstuf, which was a 17-episode psychedelic children's television series, and they made a movie out of it, and it's Witchy Poo. It's Billy Hayes is Witchy Poo. It's Jack. Is his name Jack Wild? I think. Yeah. He's like, that's my friend. The way he has a very particular brand of English, just like Jonathan Ross, the English host and TV show presenter. They call him Wassy. Like, don't take the flute. That's my friend. It's very, very, very specific. And they're like, you talk funny, little kid. And he's like, it's the friendliest worm in the sky. Sorry. It's amusing to me. This is like, it's amazing. This movie is amazing. I mean, if you don't like this sort of thing, it's not going to convert you. But if you do like psychedelic anomalies, this is 1970, right? Yeah, 1970. So the series was 69. So this movie is like they probably use the same assets, maybe the same sets, certainly the same puppets and stuff. But If you do like, I mean, it's not like it has a dark edge or anything like that. It's not like, well, this is like the Dark Crystal. This ain't your daddy's Pufnstuf. No, it's for children. It's for kids. But the level of stuff that they were able to get away with. So all the characters, all the little puppet characters talk like famous people. So you've got one that sounds like Eddie G. Robinson. Yeah, it talks like this. See, yeah, well, we gotta go get that flute back, you know? And then you've got one that sounds like Cagney. And there's a thing that sounds like there's like the spirit of the sky sounds like John Wayne. I mean, it is John Wayne. It's not actually John Wayne, but it's like a puppet that looks like John Wayne. He's like, well, hello there. How can I help you? And you're like, what are they doing? It's fascinating. So this is on Blu-ray now. It's a good scan. You know, it's HD. It has the theatrical trailer. That's all that it has. But I'll show you the disc has the. That's what the disc looks like. But I watched it. I had a great time with it. It's hard to recommend. But if you know the material, you know what? If there's any, hey, Kino Lorber, Code Red, anybody out there, can we get the Sid and Marty Krofft stuff back into print? I don't have any of that stuff. Like Lidsville and someone sent Land of the Lost to CerealAtMidnite like a year ago. Maybe it was even longer. If you guys are, I don't remember who it was. I want to say maybe it was even anonymous, but whoever sent that, thank you so much. It's the only Sid and Marty Krofft that I have outside of Pufnstuf now. But they were responsible for so many. Sigmund the Sea Monster, right? Which has now been adapted into like a Nickelodeon show, I think. I would love to get that original stuff back on disc. I think the time is right and there's a market for it. So that'd be amazing. Last but not least, Death Ring. I did not like this movie. I'm so grateful that I was sent it for review, and I want to be upfront and clear about, like, it was not for me. This is a 1992 action movie with a lot of relatives of famous people. So it's Chuck Norris's son, Mike Norris, Billy Drago, the bad guy from The Untouchables. He's always creepy. He's cool. Chad McQueen, who I think is Steve McQueen's son, and then Don Swayze, which is Patrick Swayze's brother. The premise of this movie is kind of like Hard Target or like The Deadliest Game, The Most Dangerous Game. What's the movie where Emilio Estevez is on the island surviving the survival island? I can't remember the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about. It's not a new plot. You plop these guys down on an island and you have people hunt them. That's the premise. There's like 15 minutes of island hunting, and the rest of it is people talking about what they're going to do when they get to the island to hunt. It doesn't have the sense of fun that the Andy Sedaris movies have. It's kind of in the same ballpark as an Andy Sedaris movie, but without the fun. And it does have a couple of women, both of whom disrobe, but it doesn't have the same twinkle in its eye that Andy Sedaris movies has. And it just ended up, it felt like it went on forever, to be honest with you. But if you saw this movie on cable, or if you rented this at the video store in the 90s and you have fond memories of it, this is hands down the best way you're going to see it. It's been restored. It looks great. I want to say it's a new 2K master, and it looks great. With grain all over the place. It looks great. So, R.J. Kaiser is the director. He had previously done Hell Comes to Frogtown with Roddy Piper. He only made 3 movies. And those are 2 of them. I don't remember what the third one is. And it might have not even been a movie. It might have been like a TV project. He mostly works in sound. He's like the sound guy for a lot of movies. Like almost 100 movies. But this it wasn't my particular cup of tea. But for those of you who like that sort of thing, you're probably going to love it. It's the best way to watch the movie. So, guys, that is another Review-Palooza in the books. All Kino Lorber titles, all in depth. They're all available too, September. All of those are September titles. So I'll put some links in the description of this video and help you so you don't have to go hunt. You can just find stuff directly. But thanks for hanging out. What do you think about these longer review format shows? I always like to continue the conversation in the comments below. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Take care until next time. Here's where to go and what to do.